Residential construction in New York City has flourished over the last decade. Gleaming brand new condominium towers continue to rise around the city at a dizzying pace in 2021 and beyond. They offer luxurious finishes and appliances in pristine buildings that have many times been designed by brand name architects. They come with ample access to an ever-growing list of amenities available to the unit owners. It's quite easy to get enticed by these prestigious new developments. I totally get it. If you're currently in the market for a new development in New York City, I want you to stop right now. It's important to understand what's involved with one of the acquisitions of these properties before you move forward. In this video, I'm going to explain the process of searching for and purchasing a new development condo in New York City. I'll tell you what to expect, what to look for, and how to be smart about the negotiating process so you can get the best deal from the developer. Okay, so today I'm going to break down the process of buying a new development condo in New York City. Buying a new construction is substantially different than purchasing a resale, so you need to be prepared so you know what to expect and you can best negotiate your deal. I'm a real estate agent in New York City, so my experience comes from this market, but I believe what I'm going to tell you is going to be applicable to a lot of big cosmopolitan markets across the country. And make sure to stay tuned because at the end of this video, I'm going to let you into a little secret about how you can save on closing costs and how you can use the awareness of your closing costs to negotiate a better deal. Before we get started, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button right down there. Like this video and be sure to drop a comment below if you have one. Or if you have any questions, just feel free to give me a call. I put my phone number in the description below and I always pick it up when it rings. Buying an apartment in New York City is always a complex process, and buying a newly constructed condominium is no exception. So to keep this process simple, I'm going to break it down into 3 sections. First, we'll talk about the search and evaluation process. Basically, how to find something that you're going to love. Second, we're going to talk about the financing options and how they might differ from a regular sale in New York City. And third, we're going to talk about when you'll be able to move in and what to expect. It's important to know that you will be purchasing this unit from a developer or a sponsor. These are professional builders and marketers of property in New York City, and most likely they have an established track record and reputation. It's important to realize who you're dealing with because a developer is going to have very different concerns than your typical owner of a single unit. If you play your cards right, there's several ways you can turn this to your advantage. Okay, let's get started. So there's a lot of unknowns in any real estate transaction, and there are more unknowns when you're buying a new development. Most likely, you'll be looking at buildings that haven't been finished yet. You'll be expected to make a purchasing decision based on 3D renderings, walking through a model unit, or descriptions printed in a glossy marketing brochure. Unknowns mean risk, so your job as a savvy buyer is to turn as many unknowns into knowns as possible. Developers will want to sell as many units in their unfinished buildings as quickly as they can. This is not only for cash flow reasons, but because most banks are unwilling to provide loans on a property unless a certain percentage of the units have already been sold. We'll talk more about that later. Just know that it's in the developer's best interest to sign as many contracts as quickly as they can to prove the viability of their project. If you're willing to assume more risk by signing on to a project very early, you'll be handsomely rewarded with not only your choice of the units, but also a lower selling price. Developers market their properties with slickly produced marketing material. They are very good at this, and real estate agents like me are very good at marketing their properties to get the best return on their investment. But developers are also required to submit an offering plan to the New York State Attorney General's office. The offering plan is a disclosure document that provides the buyer all the vital information about the condo, like pricing, buying procedures, floor plans, building bylaws, etc. Now, in most cases, you will not get to see the offering plan until you have an accepted offer, but you need to know that what's in that offering plan is a much more reliable source of information than anything a developer's agent may have told you. You'll want to have your lawyer thoroughly review the offering plan to make sure everything that's in it confirms what you already understand about the home you'll be purchasing. Here are 10 questions to ask when evaluating a new development project as a potential purchase. Number 1, what will the common charges on the building be? You can expect that whatever the estimated common charges are put in the offering plan are on the very optimistic side of things. It's very common for these charges to rise 5 to 10% in the first couple of years. Number 2, will there be a retail tenant on the ground floor of the building? If so, what are the stipulations on the type of business it can be? Number 3, how long will the developer control the condo board? This depends a lot on how quickly the building sells out, but it's typical for the developer to control the board for the first year or two. Number 4, will the building have an in-house super? Lately, a lot of buildings are switching to virtual concierge systems, and they're great, but what happens when they malfunction? Basically, you want to know who you're going to talk to if you have a problem. If there is going to be an in-house super, are unit owners expected to pay for the super's apartment? This can get expensive. Number 5, what view will you have from your apartment? If this is a big established developer, a lot of times they have very sophisticated drone systems where you can actually see the view that you're going to have from your actual unit. If they don't have that, once you sign a contract, ask for a hard hat tour. Even if it's just concrete, nothing's in the apartment, at least you'll get to see what you're going to see out of your window. Number 6, what are the closing costs? Who's expected to pay for the transfer tax, seller's attorney, mortgage recording tax, and mansion taxes? More on this later when we talk about negotiating. Is there storage or parking available in the building? If there's something like that that comes with the unit, they will have told you about it already. But if not, what's the fee for its use? Number 8, is there a tax abatement on the building? If so, when does it run out, and what will the taxes be once it's no longer in force? Number 9, when will I be able to move in? This is always one of the stickiest issues because a new building is not allowed to accept residents until it's received a certificate of occupancy. You can expect that whatever date you're told will get pushed back because there's always construction delays. But there should be an outside date written in your contract. The outside date is the date by which, if the developer has not allowed you to move into the building by then, you can cancel your contract and get your deposit back. Number 10, can you rent or flip your unit? Most condos are very lenient about this, but some do have rules governing renting or a stated period of time before which you can't sell your unit. Okay, next we're going to talk about financing. Typically, financing a newly constructed condo should not be more expensive than financing a regular resale unit. The problem with financing is that most banks will not close on a mortgage until the building is at least 51% sold and has a temporary certificate of occupancy from the Department of Buildings. You'll be asked to sign a contract of sale and then wait until the building is finished to close your deal. The good news here is that many developers line up what they call their preferred lenders. These are banks that know the building and have already agreed in advance to finance all the purchases in that building. The rates they offer should be competitive with going interest rates at the time, and they should be willing to lock you into your interest rate until the building is ready to close. You don't have to go with the developer's preferred lender, but it's often the easiest choice. Okay, let's talk about moving in. You should be offered the opportunity to walk through your unit before you close the deal. During this initial walkthrough, you and your agent will develop a punch list. This is a list of items that will need to be fixed by the developer or the builder before you move in. Your punch list will need to be approved by the developer, but you can expect them to generally want to make you happy and approve any reasonable requests. But don't expect them to approve any significant upgrades or any items that weren't in the offering plan. Typically, there's a second walkthrough scheduled to check on the completion of all the items on the punch list, but sometimes this happens after the closing. Okay, now the part you really need to know. Now that you understand the process of finding, evaluating, and purchasing a new development in New York City, how do you go about negotiating and getting yourself the best deal possible? With the huge boom in construction over the last decade, combined with slower real estate sales because of the pandemic, there's been a big oversupply of new developments in New York City. There are many different ways you can negotiate on price. Basically, at this point, everything is on the table. Number one, price. This is often the developer's least favorite area to make a concession because if he negotiates down your selling price, that affects the sale price of all the other units in the building, but price is always negotiable. Number two, transfer tax, mortgage recording tax, and seller's attorney fees. Just ask the sponsor to pay these. Number three, mansion tax. Ask the sponsor to pay it. Number four, common charges. Now you won't get the actual price of the common charges reduced, but you can ask the sponsor to pay them for you for the first year or two. I see it happen all the time. Number five, upgrades to your unit. Ask for higher end appliances or upgraded finishes. Developers get deep discounts from suppliers, so often what they'll have to pay is much less than what it would cost you. And finally, you can ask for free storage or a free parking space. Now, if these are deeded with the unit, that's going to be a difficult ask. But if they're for rent within the building, you might be able to negotiate 1 or 2 free years of storage or parking. Most importantly, don't be afraid to ask for a price reduction on anything. Developers are business people, so they're not going to take this personally, and all they can do is say no. Well, that's all for now. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, just give me a call. Good luck!